Yes, we've had a number of new teachers, no question. But we've had no trouble getting teachers to fill all the vacancies. In fact, this year we had the fewest number of vacancies in recent history. At the start of the school year, we had 16 classroom teacher vacancies at the start of the school year, and yes, we did hire a number of them. Now, just real quick on TFA, let's stop giving TFA a bad rep, you know. First of all, there's only 140 of them that came this year. 140. We have 10,600 teachers. And by the way, most of those 140 and the past ones are doing a heck of a job. Yes, first year teaching is hard, no question. I've said that over and over again. I've had a number of hard jobs myself in high intensity environments. And the second toughest job I've ever had was being a middle school principal, but the toughest job I've ever had was first year teacher. And that beats being a diplomat, being an Army Ranger, being a company commander, and all the other things I've done in my life. First year teacher's hard, and I don't care where you are. Yes, it's hard. So we need to support them and grow them. But you're still right about one major thing, and that is we need to try to retain our most effective teachers, period. And if we don't do a better job of that, we're not going to succeed long term. So the basic premise I actually agree with, that if we're not retaining our most effective, we're going to be sunk. So what are we doing about that, and what does it really take? So come tomorrow to the principals training. Tomorrow, principals training. We talked about 222 principals, and we'll be at Pole C tomorrow, and maybe next time we'll come to Seagoville, but Pole C tomorrow. What's the first thing they're going to get trained on, which they've been trained on before? It's holding on to our effective teachers. There's an article called The Irreplaceables, and we talk about that. What does the Irreplaceables, it says there's, in that document, you can look it up, by TNTP, the new teacher project, TNTP Irreplaceables. Google that, because we're asking the principals to read it for the second time. And we're talking about how to retain not just what we call the irreplaceables, the top 20%, but any effective teacher, new or otherwise, because we have a lot of new teachers who are effective, by the way. And of the people that we brought in this year, most of them were not new to the profession. They're new to Dallas ISD, but they are experienced teachers. So many of them are effective right off the bat. How do we hold on to these folks? Well, the article in our training is about how to do that, and there's 8 steps. There are 8 low-cost strategies to hold on to folks. What are those low-cost strategies? Most of them have to do with the building, okay, and what's going on there, and I'll tell you a few of them. But it also supports the research that says people leave their job. You can talk about education, you can talk about Walmart, the Army, diplomacy, whatever. The 2 biggest reasons, one is the relationship with their supervisor. The second is the relationship with their colleagues. Nobody wants to work for a boss they don't like, and nobody wants to work when they're not getting along with the people they have to work with. So what are some of the 8 low-cost strategies for trying to hold on to people? Number 1, make sure people are valued. Make sure people are appreciated. Give them a pat on the back. That's number 1. Another one, give them effective feedback. Whoa. That's what our spot observation is about. Did you know that on our spot observations we ask for 3 things? We say you're not an effective principal, or you're not giving effective feedback, rather, if you don't give feedback, at least 3 types of feedback on each spot observation form. 1, something that validates what you're doing well. Validate what the teacher's doing well. Do that first. Number 2, make sure you ask something that invites reflection. People don't mind, instead of saying you're not doing this right, to say, I wonder why this strategy didn't work. I wonder why this strategy did work. I wonder why those kids over here had a different worksheet. I wonder if you had used this sort of strategy, would that have helped? Just a question. And then number 3 is a helpful hint. A helpful hint, so that a person can improve. And by the way, our teachers believe that our principals are giving good, effective feedback. Look at the climate surveys over the last 4 ones that we've done. We're going to do one again in December and one again in April, so I can say that with great assurity. That's another one. Number 3, make sure they're evaluated well and that the evaluation is differentiated. Whoa. People believe and have higher sense of wanting to stay in a school if they're not getting evaluated the same, everybody gets the same evaluation. So forth and so on. Anyway, that's what we have to do to hold on to our most, and give them opportunities to grow, give them leadership opportunities, those sorts of things. Those are just some of the 8 low-cost strategies we're going to talk about tomorrow. So, long story short, I know that was a long answer, but I think it deserved it. We are going to be trying to hold on to our most effective teachers. We're going to hold on to our most effective teachers. We got to do that sort of training. We got to remind folks about how to do that. And over time, we will be able to do that.
All right, we have another question up here.
I'm a parent of one of the students that comes here to Seagoville, and I'm not sure that this is a question or what I heard. And I'm not sure how this is going to affect my daughter over the next couple of years, because they're looking much further in the future. But I heard teaching differentiation, and we're trying to get the community involved and maybe more people who haven't gotten a teacher certificate but actually have worked in the field to do this. I also heard more hands-on, which is wonderful, but I also heard that you're going away from using of books. And through the past, I've also noticed that even using books, they're skipping around. They're not starting from the beginning how a book is written to the end, so the kids are missing that foundation. So I think a lot of the kids are missing on that. I also heard, I heard you're not looking really for effective teachers. I know that that's what you said, but I heard facilitators, that you want these kids to do practically everything on their own and the teacher's just going to facilitate. I'm not sure how that will go, especially in the younger and the middle schools when you want all that tech stuff. But I don't think it should go, I don't think the district should go completely away from the teacher. And the last comment I have was the spot observations. My daughter sees the kids come, principals, they come in, they go around asking questions. What she said is micromanagement. And micromanagement doesn't work in the business world, and it certainly doesn't work in the teachers.
All right, so thanks for asking all those questions. Let me try to answer a few of them that I can remember. So the thing about books and how a teacher teaches, and whether or not we're getting away from the teacher as a teacher versus facilitator, and whether or not people can use a resource book or get on the internet. We have defined autonomy. One of the things or myths is that we don't allow the teacher to teach. There are only 4 things at the district level that we require. Lesson objective. That means teachers need to know what a kid needs to know that day. What is the student supposed to learn that day? And notice I didn't say what the teacher's going to teach. I said, what is the student supposed to learn that day? That's one bookend. The second is, teacher, how will you know when the kid knows? That's the second bookend. The third thing is, whatever you're teaching, that activity, has to be tied to what you said they're going to do. The fourth is that you have to be engaging the kids. That's it. You get to pick, teacher, what strategy you use, what resource you use, how you do it, the pacing of that. No, you have to teach the standards, no question, okay? That is a non-negotiable. When you say this is what a kid needs to know and be able to do, it has to be the Texas standards. Okay? But how you do that is up to you. What strategy? So, no, we don't dictate the resource. If a teacher wants to start with page 1 and go to page 2 the next day, that's up to the teacher. As long as they're teaching the standards for that, for that semester. Now, if a teacher wants to say, you know what, there's a better strategy on the internet for teaching, the equation of the line, for teaching adding fractions with unlike denominator. Better strategy on the internet, I'm going to use that strategy there. I want to get on the internet and I'm going to show that. And you know what? We do encourage teachers to use as many visuals as possible. Please do not talk about minerals without showing me pictures or give me something to touch. Please don't even talk to me about the equation of the line without showing me something graphically. Please do not talk about kinetic energy without showing me a picture so that I can see, or a small video clip, or getting on the internet. Please don't do that. But if you don't do that, that's fine, but you're held accountable for the results of that classroom. So teachers have a lot of leeway to teach, and if you're a professional teacher, you're happy to teach in Dallas ISD because you get to teach the way you want to teach. Okay? So resources, do what you want. Now, we have dictated only one program in the district. One. District this size, this much money, we've dictated one program. That's Reasoning Mind in 2nd and 3rd grade. That's not an option, that's a supplement. That's the only program we've dictated. You guys want to use a different program? Fine. In fact, had a executive director and assistant soup come to me last week even and said, this principal, not here, this principal in this feeder pattern wants to use this curriculum resource to teach English language arts, middle school. And the ED, executive director, and the assistant soup didn't think that program was going to work. It didn't seem rigorous enough. And I said, look, does that program teach the Texas standards? Yes. But it doesn't seem rigorous enough, Mr. Miles. I said, you know what? You let that principal do what that principal wants. They want to use that program, let that principal use that program. In the end, that principal is accountable for results. Now, it wasn't a tier 1 school. It wasn't a school that didn't meet state accountability. So we said, let it go. Your job is to support that. Now, yeah, give them guidance, give them advice, but in the end, it is a principal's decision. And principals then allow teachers to do what they need to do. Now, some principals are a little bit more tightly controlling of what happens in the classroom, and that's a discussion you need to have with principals and the staff, because we don't want to dictate what happens there. So I hear that every once in a while. You just heard it from me. That's how we run the district. So if you want to teach with the internet or not internet, that's up to the teacher and not the district. With regard to spot observations, it is an effective practice to give effective feedback to teachers, and we will not be stopping that. What we will be doing, though, is differentiating that number of observations. So once the evaluations come out, and you are a distinguished teacher, then you will have fewer, probably 6 in a year next year. Remember, irreplaceables, that article, getting effective feedback, even your effective teachers need effective and want effective feedback. That's a good practice. That actually helps retain teachers. So we're going to continue to do that. Now we have to do that in a way that's validating and supportive and not just, I'm trying to get you, right? So we got to do that. So we will differentiate our spot observations. And if you're distinguished, you get probably 6. If you're proficient, you get 8. And if you're less than proficient, then you probably get the 10 during the course of the year. A couple other questions.
Okay, so we have this question from Mr. Ken Grantham, Seagoville High School math teacher. How's it going? And I'm hoping that I'm doing this right. How's this going with partnerships with businesses for the endorsements that students are being given? He says, knowing that there is a job waiting is a great motivator.
Do you want to answer that? I'll add about the internship in a minute.
We do work with hundreds of employers, and we're open for any suggestions. So if any of you are employers and want to work closely with us, seriously, please let us know. That's our objective, is to close that gap and be able to introduce the employers to the future students even before they leave the Dallas ISD. So anything you can do to help us or advice you'd like to give us, we are very open to.
Also, and thanks for whoever asked the question, thanks for that. Also, we are expanding the mayor's internship program. This is a program that the district, the ISD, spent $100,000 last summer for our kids to be paid interns with different nonprofits and businesses in the greater Dallas area. And so if the Seagoville High School students want to take advantage of that, we had, I think, someone helped us, 7,000 applications, or we had lots of kids apply, but not, 1,600 from us apply, and 300 spots. That's not a lot of spots, so we're going to try to expand that over the next couple of years. So if you have businesses in the area that want an intern or was willing to pay for an intern, that would be a great way to hook up our young folks with potential employers in a paid internship.
Hello, Mr. Miles. We have a parent that wants to ask a question. She's going to go ahead and ask it in Spanish, and I'll go ahead and interpret it to English.
Thank you.
Yo le quería decir que ahorita para recibir a los maestros tienen que ayudar y darles más entrenamiento, porque hay muchos maestros que sí tienen, pero son nuevos, no saben cómo enseñar a los niños estando estudiando aquí. Pero hay veces que también los directores no se enteran de cómo enseñan a los alumnos, que cuando uno va y da una queja para saber, mire, mi niña está siendo tratada así o está teniendo problemas en esto, los directores no nos dan la cara, nos ponen a los directores, entonces queremos decir, o queremos hablar con los directores no saben. Hay directores que yo he hablado con ellos y dicen, no, sí, yo no estaba enterado, gracias por darme esto saber para poder yo hablar con mis maestros. Pero hay muchos directores que no nos dan la cara, nada más nos dan sus subdirectores, y los subdirectores pues a veces nada más toman el papel, lo escriben y lo echan yo creo al cajón o a la basura y no miramos un cambio.
Basically, she was saying a comment. She's saying that she feels that teachers need to receive more support and also more training because a lot of teachers do have, they have studied and they do have the background. However, many of them perhaps don't know how to work with children. And she also said that, for example, whenever I do have a complaint and I want to speak, she has several students, she has students that attend several DISD schools. Whenever she has a complaint and she wants to talk to the principals, that sometimes the principals aren't aware really what's going on. She'll go and try to talk to the principal, and sometimes the principal's not available. She'll talk to the assistant principal instead, and she feels that sometimes that she's not even paid attention to, that sometimes the complaint is just written on a piece of paper, perhaps thrown away.
Well, I think the first thing to say is that I'm so happy that you are an engaged parent. We want all of our parents to be engaged in the school, have access to the principals or APs, and so please continue to do that. I can't answer the specific situation. I know that we staff the buildings with principals and APs who have a lot of different responsibilities, but I hope they return your calls or return your emails. That's what we encourage them to do. And so I would suggest keep going after that. If the principal isn't there, if the AP can't help, then go to the counselors, circle back to the principals. I know, we have some pretty good principals in the district. They have a tough job, and we're all trying to grow. So please don't give up on us with regard to approaching your principals or APs. And yes, your point about professional development is spot on. Is a fair and good criticism, meaning we need to do more professional development. Part of this TEI, Teacher Excellence Initiative, or evaluation system, includes a big part of support. And so you're going to see us spending much more money on teacher training over the summer. We're already planning what we call learning labs, where a teacher who is not as proficient as this teacher over here can go to summer school. We'll pay them to go to summer school with a master teacher, a more expert teacher, and the two of them will co-teach, and that teacher will be able to learn quite a bit. No pressure, because they're just learning, and they'll get feedback, but it will just help them, and they'll also get paid for it. We think that's a great opportunity to learn. We also are starting these summer academies for progressing teachers, proficient teachers, and more highly proficient teachers. So at universities, we're going to pay for a big part of that bill ourselves, and the teachers will have to contribute a small part to that so that they can get further training. Next year, you're going to see in the December briefing, we're going to advance a calendar to the board where we're adding 4 more professional development days / teacher work days. Because one of the comments I've heard is that there's not enough time. And so, every day that we don't want to take too many days from kids, okay? And by the way, the law says we can't take, they have to have at least 175 student teacher contact days. But we're gonna add more days to the calendar to help our teachers so that they can grow during the year, because there's hardly any time during the year for them to grow. That'll be a total of 6 days or 7 days during the year that will be professional development / work day. And we will define it, teachers, so that we know if it's a work day, 6 of those hours have to be yours and the principal can only have 2. If it's a professional development day, 6 of those hours are the principal's and 2 of the hours have to be yours, free from any administrator or PLC or anything like that. So we're going to work that out, but we're trying to help the professional development, like the lady said we need to do. So those are just some of the things we're going to do to try to address the professional development needs.
Any final questions? Where it's 7 o'clock and we had scheduled this from 6 to 7. So if we've got one final question, we can take it at this time. Want the yellow building? You want me to run over?
No, meet you halfway.
One thing that has happened over the last years, last year during the summer, our number of failing schools increased 26% at a time when those numbers went down in most of the major urban areas. They went down in Houston, down in Fort Worth, down in San Antonio, but they went up in Dallas. Most people looking at Dallas from a distance would have seen the 100% increase in teacher turnover and think that was the issue. You've said a lot of very good things this evening about supporting teachers, and I agree with you 100%. Why isn't that more directly addressed in the plans you have for improving the 43 failing schools in Dallas and that you're presenting to the public on Thursday evening at 5:30?
So one of the things we all have to be cognizant of is the use of data. And we have to support our schools that are doing a good job in striving. What the public doesn't know, Bill, and you keep misleading them, is that it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. We do have 43 IR schools, and there were more than last year, but there were also more standards and hurdles to jump over. So yes, we have schools that have been placed on it. And we are supporting each of those schools in a very specific manner. And each school has different needs and challenges. So we can beat up on our, what we call IR schools. We can beat them up, or we can try to support them, which is what we're doing. And many of them have been placed on IR from stuff that happened in the past, and you have a new principal or new staff that's taking over school, and yes, so the challenges are different. That school needs something different. than this school over here. And so we are addressing those things pretty rigorously and pretty aggressively in some cases. We also have to tell the good stories of our kids. It is a balance. You don't see me running from the bad news that we have. But doggone it, we also have to publish and advertise the good news. The CTE, why isn't that being shouted out? That we have industry-certified kids. Kids who are better off today. When we got here, it was about 250. Now it's 1,250. A difference of 1,000. That's something to applaud. Did you know that 2 weeks ago that our minority students, African American and Hispanic minority students, reported by the College Board, outscored every single other major urban district in the United States on the percentage of kids that passed the AP exam? We beat Houston. We beat Houston by 2-to-1 margin. Philadelphia, LA, your kids did. Okay? Let's at least, if you're going to beat them up for minority achievement gap or being an IR school, well then let's at least applaud them. And that's a national story. Didn't get reported by the Dallas Morning News. Okay? And it should be shouted out by you at board briefings and everything. Because it didn't fit the narrative. Our kids can achieve. They can achieve. They can achieve at high levels. But it's going to take a lot of work. And let's not all, the one thing I do appreciate is that people do point out how tough this road is. It is not a flip the switch kind of thing we're doing here. We are trying to move 160,000 kids in the right direction and be college and career ready. Linda's not going to be satisfied with 1,250, neither am I. We want more kids graduating with an industry approved. We want more kids passing the ASVAB, and we want more kids going to college. And so yes, it's going to be a long road to hoe, and we're not going to be satisfied if we have even one school that's improvement required. So let's all move in that right direction, try to support our kids in our schools that are busting their butts every day. And that's what we're going to try to do going forward. Let me close by saying this. We know that one part we didn't talk a lot about tonight is the community involvement and the parent engagement. That's one of the 4 big areas that we've been working on. We know that regardless of what we do in the school, we can do a lot, right? With good teachers, good principals, and effective instruction and all that. But we can never replace the involvement of a parent or the involvement of the community. That's one of the big efforts we're going to continue to look at you and say, can you help us out? That's why I like what this lady said, getting engaged in the school, even asking tough questions. That's what we need. We need people in the doors, in the school building, at meetings like this. So I know I'm preaching to the choir.
Except for the trustee.
We need other people. We need you to touch other people, bring them to events like this, bring them to the school, volunteer, help be a mentor, help read to kids, and then we will get off IR status for all of our 43 schools that are on there and get our kids more college and career ready in the future. Thanks for your time tonight. Appreciate you being here.